What's up guys, Travis with TCustomz Productionz, TCustomz.com. Today's topic is why a shorter song is better. I'm going to give you my explanation, my reasoning for this. I want to focus on two primary points and I'm going to throw in some bonus points at the end just to give some context what I'm talking about, who I'm talking to. I'm talking specifically to the independent recording artist, whether you're MC, singer, songwriter, musician, somebody who's trying to cut through the clutter of all the music that's being distributed now online, and even for producers who are working with artists or maybe selling your instrumentals online, reasonings why you would maybe want to have shorter, more compact instrumentals or work on shorter projects. At the end of the day, whether you have a long song or a short song, it's got to be good quality music. You could have a 6 or 7 minute song. If it's garbage, even if you condense it down to 3 minutes, it's still 3 minutes of garbage. Having said that, there are a number of benefits to putting out a shorter song or instrumental. And to kind of define what I'm thinking of when I say a shorter song, generally speaking, I would be thinking of tracks that are in maybe hip hop genres, pop genres, other urban genres, something that would traditionally be, let's say, in the 2 minute to 30 range to maybe on the upwards of 7 minute range, and make a few arguments for why putting out music on the lower end of that spectrum would help you as an independent, again, to build your fan base, to help cut through the clutter. And getting into point number one is to keep listener retention. We're in a very ADHD, short attention span world. How many times are you online, you're on Facebook and multiple tabs open in your browser and you're listening to music here, and if you don't like it, you're onto this next video, and if you don't like it within 15 seconds, you're onto something else. This is how people are. This is how people are digesting and taking in information, whether it be music, movies, articles, whatever. Especially as a new artist or producer or musician, you need to make an impact now, because if somebody does click the play button, you want to make sure you capture their attention, because they can just easily bounce off and go to something else 15 seconds later. I listen to a lot of music from independent artists and producers on a regular basis, and I've heard tracks that have been 6 and 7 minutes long from somebody that I've never heard of before. Realistically speaking, for somebody to go through and listen to that 6-7 minutes is just not gonna happen. Now you could argue and say, well, if the song's really dope and it's really good and it has multiple features, of course there's gonna be exceptions to every rule. You could have a remix with 5 or 6 different people on it. It would inherently need to be a longer song. But ultimately, if you're looking for new fans or to resonate with existing fans, you wanna make that impact. You wanna get in, you wanna get out. If you record 3 or 4 verses and maybe one of them is just okay, but the other 2 are really great, why not just eliminate that third verse altogether and put that into a 2.5 minute, 3 minute song? And that way, when somebody turns it on, they'll be a lot more likely to play through the end. You might think that 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes isn't a really long time, but in the world, fast-paced world that we live in, it's an eternity. Going back to social media, think about when you jump on Facebook, on Twitter, and how quickly you're going through and finding something that grabs your attention, and if it doesn't sustain your attention, you're off 5 seconds later. So you gotta be aware of this when you're putting out your own music and how people are receiving and interacting with it. Over the past several months, a number of you have sent in music, instrumentals, and songs to be played on the Live Music Showcase event, and one of the big critiques that I've made on a lot of those tracks was they just didn't get to the point soon enough. Like, I didn't need a 16-bar intro, I just needed a 4-bar intro and get right into the meat and potatoes of what that track is. But it's even more critical to put out these shorter songs that are easily digestible as an independent or somebody who's up and coming and growing and still has a relatively small fan base. If somebody's already established, whether it be producer, artist, musician, whatever, they have more liberty to say put out a 8-minute song that has a 32-bar intro, because they already have the leverage built and they know that there's going to be a certain core group of audience, even if everybody doesn't listen to it. Personally, I'm a big fan of songs that are in that 2.5 minute to just over 3 minute range. When I create my instrumentals and I'm going to format or arrange them, and I've shot a video in the past on how to arrange a hip-hop song instrumental, and I talk through just the various formats as far as the verses and the hooks and different ways that you can structure a song. There may be exceptions where you got a super slow tempo song and you bring in a bridge and it ends up expanding to 4 or 5 minutes long. But for me, when I format my hip hop tracks, I try to keep them as short, as tight as possible. 2 verses, 2 hooks. If I have a little breakdown or bridge or something else, fine. But ideally, I like to keep it under 3.5 minutes if possible. And so if an artist wants to take that instrumental and record to it, it's not to say that it couldn't be reformatted and added to later or changed up, but I want to present that as a potential short song. I want the artist to get in, get out, say what they gotta say, and go on to the next one. And getting into the next point is it's gonna have a replay factor the shorter it is. If I hear a really great song, 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes long, and I hear at the end, I'm like, shit, it's over? I'm so much more likely to go back and play it again. And you marketing your music, as you have to be conscious of as an independent musician, having a replay factor to your music, those benefits go without saying. When people spinning your record over and over and over again, more potential for them to share it. At the end of the day, it's got to be dope. I mean, you can't just say if it's this short and it's this whatever. It's got to be good music, but the short attention span of people now is something that you can't deny. It's something you always have to consider. If you make that short song, it's impactful, they like it, they're gonna be a lot more likely to replay it and also share it and purchase it. If your goal is to get on some sort of a radio play at some point, having that song that's tight, concise within that 3-minute range is gonna fit the format of other songs that are getting spun and would typically work better in the mix there. So another point tying in with creating shorter songs to help better benefit you, to market your music, to keep user retention, to get people more interested, listen, to have that replay factor, you want to consider shorter projects as a whole. Whether you're putting out a mixtape, an album, EPs are great. A shorter project is going to be better, in my opinion, almost every time. Again, just think about the sheer amount of music that's being put out every single day. How many people are putting out mixtapes every single day, EPs, projects, trying to sell their music? Generally speaking, people are moving through music very quickly, hopping to this artist. Okay, so artist dope, no, go on to the next one, no, the next one. It's just like this constant cycle because there's so much music being flooded online and offline. I'll give you an example. I was at A3C recently, and a number of people there had their discs, had thumb drives, had a link, a QR code to go link to their album. And I remember one in particular, it was like a 30-track mixtape. This is not the first time this has happened. I've seen people put out these super long projects online, up and coming artists that maybe have a smaller fan base or maybe no fan base at all. I don't see this approach being very effective. I think I kind of understand the mentality behind something like that. Well, if they don't like everything, at least they'll have one track that they like. Maybe they'll like this style, or maybe track 18 will work. The problem is they're not even gonna get to track 18 because if you don't capture their attention in the first track, the first 2 or 3 songs, they're moving on to the next thing. This is another reason why I love to see artists put out EPs. Because by definition, it's a smaller, easily digestible project. You might even have a 3-track EP or 5 or 7 or whatever, but I would be a lot more likely to sit down and listen to an EP than I would to sit down and listen to a full-length album or an extended mixtape from an artist that I've never heard or only heard of maybe once before. Some of your classic hip-hop albums were only 10 or 12 tracks. They got in, they got out, they told the story or they gave the message that they were going to tell for that project and they got out. Again, I'm not saying other formats can't work. This is just my opinion. This is why I love shorter songs, shorter projects. This is why I format the majority of my instrumentals in a shorter, condensed format. Hopefully these can help you maybe with an upcoming project that you're working on, some different things to consider, or a new single that you're about to release. Again, my advice, focus on the quality of the music, make it as condensed, as short as possible, make that impact, get in, get out, deliver your message, have that replay factor, and this is gonna give you the most probability to get your music out there, build your fan base, and ultimately to do what you love long term. So again, hopefully this helps. If it did, please thumbs up, drop your comments if you agree, disagree. Feel free to subscribe. There'll be a link in the description to download hip-hop instrumentals, sound kits, a number of other resources for music marketing, branding. If you have any other questions, let me know. I will see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.